A tiny little thing is hobbling supply chains around the world. Hi there, I'm Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English every Monday and Thursday with lessons about current events and trending topics. Our main topic today is about the chips that power electronic devices, and specifically how there aren't enough of them. Like always, we talk about a popular English phrase in the second half of the lesson. Today, you'll learn the English expression cutting edge, and I'll share a quote of the week as well. This is lesson number 380, and that means JR, our producer, has uploaded the full lesson to plainenglish.com/380. Before we start, I just want to give you a quick definition. I'm going to use the word capacity a lot. Capacity is like the ability to make a lot of stuff. If a manufacturer has a lot of spare capacity, it means they have the ability, if they need it, to make more stuff. But if a factory is running at capacity or over capacity, it is doing as much as it possibly can, and it can't do any more. So watch out for that word capacity as you listen. Semiconductors are at the heart of electronic devices. They are the reason electronic devices do what you want them to do. They are how your oven knows it's at 350 degrees, how your car's headlights turn on at dusk, and how your phone downloads a new Plain English every Monday and Thursday. The building blocks of semiconductors are called transistors. Transistors are tiny devices that switch electronic signals on or off one by one. If you line up 10 million modern transistors in a row, end to end, they will stretch for just 5 to 7 centimeters. A chip is an arrangement of transistors on a silicon wafer, and the chips are what make today's modern electronic devices work. Dell needs chips for its computers. Sony needs them for its PlayStations. Ford needs them for pickup trucks. John Deere needs them for tractors. LG and Samsung need them for washing machines, and so on. But there's just one problem. There aren't enough chips to go around right now. And that means new cars are left incomplete, and gamers can't get a new PlayStation 5. That's got manufacturers scrambling to reserve the desperately needed chips that are being produced. Why is this happening right now? 2 reasons. First, consumer devices are becoming more and more powerful. Phones are being asked to do more, computers are getting faster, and gaming consoles are processing sharper graphics. The second factor, the sheer number of devices with chips required, has soared. In the consumer world, home appliances and cars now use more computational power to make our lives more convenient. New products like smart light bulbs and doorbells use chips to communicate with our home networks, and the pandemic supercharged demand for home electronics as people have been confined to their residence or are working from home. For example, people are buying more laptops, ring lights, and smart speakers than ever before. Even some toothbrushes now come with computing power. There's also a lot of new computing going on behind the scenes. Artificial intelligence, cloud computing, data centers, streaming, machine learning, and Bitcoin mining all require intensive computing. All this behind-the-scenes computing is competing with consumer devices for the cutting-edge chips with the smallest transistors and the greatest energy efficiency. On the flip side, there are bottlenecks in the supply. 2/3 of the world's semiconductor manufacturing capacity is in Taiwan. Just one company, TSMC, makes 56% of the world's semiconductors. Samsung makes 18%, and 8 more companies fight for the scraps. There just isn't a lot of competition among manufacturers. The world's electronics makers are beholden to just a handful of companies. Unfortunately, those companies had a bad spring. Chip making is a water-intensive process, and Taiwan saw its worst drought in 67 years. Reservoirs were down to just 10% of their capacity. TSMC uses 41 million gallons of water a day, but they couldn't get the water they needed. They had to pump in new water from abroad just to keep the plants operating. Around the same time, several plants in Japan were destroyed by fires. These plants served the car industry and makers of audio gear. So, with a shortage of chips, there's one natural solution, right? Just build more factories. That is happening. Existing manufacturers and new companies are scrambling to create more capacity. The US and Europe both announced subsidies for companies to build more semiconductor manufacturing capacity within their own borders. The problem is that it takes years to get a semiconductor manufacturing plant up and running. The world's electronics industry will have to deal with chip shortages for a few years while the new capacity ramps up. Ironically, so much new capacity has been announced that the industry may have the opposite problem if it all gets built. Too much supply in a few years. In the meantime, companies that use chips in their products will have to get used to a world of shortages. Smartphone buyers may have to pay higher prices for the most advanced chips in their new phones. Samsung said it may delay or even skip the release of its next Galaxy Note phone altogether. Manufacturers are trying to allocate the few chips that they have to where they're most needed. Car makers, for example, are starting to reduce the number of electronics they put in new vehicles. They're removing some of the bells and whistles they originally wanted to include, such as blind spot monitoring, navigation systems, and second screens. I don't think that you need a second screen in a car, but blind spot monitoring is really pretty important. That's when the car tells you if there's another car in that area that you can't see in your mirrors so that you don't run into them. It's crazy to think that car makers are leaving blind spot monitoring out of new cars because of not because of the price, but because they just can't get their hands on the chips, and that could lead to more crashes. It's true, chips are everywhere. I saw an ad on TV for a refrigerator that will tell you what's in the fridge if you're at the grocery store and you forget what you already have. I think it's some combination of scales on the shelves and a camera inside. I laugh at that, but I'm part of the problem. I know it. Amazon just had a big sale, and I picked up 2 more smart plugs that will turn lights on and off automatically. I have one set to do it at sunset. I'll tell the app where I live, and it will turn the light on a little before sunset and then off again when I go to bed. As the sunset changes, the time it comes on changes too. That's really cool, but I'd be willing to donate those chips so that someone could get blind spot monitoring in their car. I don't think that's how it works, though. Today's English expression is cutting edge. To be on the cutting edge means to be at the latest or most advanced stage of innovation or new events. We frequently use it with new technology or with new scientific research. That's not always how we use cutting edge, but it's the most common way. In today's lesson about the global chip shortage, I talked about cutting-edge semiconductors. Semiconductors have been popular in devices since the 1960s, but cutting-edge semiconductors are the most modern, most powerful types of semiconductors. Cutting-edge semiconductors are made of the tiniest transistors. These transistors are 3, 5, and 7 nanometers long. A nanometer is a billionth of a meter. These cutting-edge chips are fast and energy efficient. They are the ones that go into phones and high-performance computers. We want smaller phones that do more and hold a charge for longer. And for that, we need cutting-edge chips. We need the most advanced chips, and we need them to always improve. There are a lot of semiconductors, though, that are not cutting edge. In my car, the windshield wipers come on when there's rain on the windshield. The chips that make that work are not cutting edge because they don't need to do very much. Listen, it's still a marvel of engineering. I have no idea how even those relatively simple chips work. But compared to the graphics processor on a new PlayStation, the chips on my windshield wipers are not cutting edge. Let me give you a few more tech examples. California is investing in cutting-edge technology to fight wildfires. They are using satellites and artificial intelligence to identify fires, drones to fight fires, and radar to help locate people trapped in danger zones. That's cutting-edge technology because it's the latest approach to fighting wildfires. The old system of helicopters, alarm systems, and media alerts will still also be used. The cutting-edge developments are the latest innovations. They're not always the best. They're not always the most effective. Often, cutting-edge developments are not the most effective in solving a problem yet. But they are the latest research and the latest developments that could end up making a big impact. They may become the most effective solutions in the future, but today they are the newest and most advanced, even if they're not the most widely used. When I was a kid, my mom would take me to the shoe store to get new shoes. I'd sit down on a little stool, and the man in the store would take out this metal device, and I'd put my foot into it, and it would measure my foot, and he'd give me the right shoe size. At some point, that must have been a cutting-edge device. I went to get new gym shoes the other day, and it was a totally different experience. This was a cutting-edge way to pick out new shoes. I stood on a pad while a device measured my foot. I'm sure the device had a lot of chips too. I walked back and forth while another device, more chips, measured the arches of my foot and determined if I favored one side or the other when I walked. The computer then matched me to a pair of shoes that would fit my foot and my walking style. That's cutting edge. Cutting edge is also used to describe new, innovative scientific research. Cutting-edge cancer treatments are the latest, most modern methods for treating cancer. Researchers at Duke University are exploring ways to inject material into wounds that will help your body heal faster. Now that's cutting-edge medical research. The old technology of patching the wound still works, but this cutting-edge research could help people recover from injuries even faster. Hearing aids have been around for decades. Traditional hearing aids have a delay of 4 to 8 milliseconds. The device needs that time to process and amplify sound. That doesn't seem like a lot of time, but a delay of 4 milliseconds interferes with a user's ability to understand, process, and participate in conversations. For many years, the cutting-edge aspect of hearing aids was to make them smaller and more comfortable. Today, they're tiny. But what was once cutting edge is now commonplace. The cutting edge characteristic today, though, is to cut down on the delay. Today, cutting edge hearing aids process sound in as little as half a millisecond. Today's quote of the week is from the banker J.P. Morgan. It's about personal ambition. He said, "Go as far as you can see. When you get there, you'll be able to see farther." I like that quote. Sometimes you can't imagine the changes ahead, or you think that your goals are too ambitious. But just go as far as you can see, do as much as you can, and when you get there, when you've done as much as you can imagine today, then you will be able to set better and more ambitious goals from there. I really like this quote a lot. Go as far as you can see. When you get there, you will be able to see farther, says J.P. Morgan. You are in the right place if you want to stay on the cutting edge of everything going on in the world. Our philosophy here is that you'll enjoy learning English more, and you will learn more if you like what you're listening to. And that's why we choose current events and trending topics as the basis for everything we do at Plain English. This is all stuff you can talk about with your friends and colleagues right away. And if you're looking for a way to practice, if you don't have a lot of English-speaking friends where you live, then we have you covered there too. As part of Plain English Plus, we have live conversation practice on Zoom. JR and I are both there. We also have sections to practice your writing and practice everything you learn here at Plain English. So come join us at plainenglish.com/plus, PLUS, and you could be on our next Zoom call one day soon. And that's all for Plain English for today, July 12th, 2021. Don't forget to check out the full lesson resources at plainenglish.com/380. We'll be back with a new lesson on Thursday.